Beside me today, we have Mr. Gerard President of Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants. And today we'll be having a short interview with him. So Mr. can you tell us what inspired you to be an accountant?
That requires a very long answer. I started off having a keen interest to be a mathematician, but to put it into context, this was way back in the 1960s. For what I aspire out of life, I think as a lecturer, I would not be able to fulfill it. And after some discernment, partly because my father was also an accountant, so I was influenced into considering this field, and since then I have no regrets.
Can you share with us what are your career highlights?
No, I think accounting, especially if you are working as an auditor for a number of years, you're exposed to a very wide range of industries. And nothing can be more exciting than that year after year, from projects to projects, you're going to different type of clients, dealing with different things from a restaurateur, hotel operations, to a financial institution, you name it, and there's a fair chance you get exposed to different type of businesses. So I find it exciting, and it's never a dull moment. Of course, the world has been constantly changing, and if you look at auditing, what we have had to do 30 years ago compared to 20 and just 10 years ago, and even more recently, is continuously evolving. There are new challenges, new standards that you need to know and to meet. So never a dull moment. It's one profession that you never get stale. There's always ongoing, continuing professional development.
Can you tell us, is there any challenges that you face as an accountant or in a position where you held in the various organizations?
I think as an auditor, you're continuously faced with moral issues, moral dilemmas. This is where the whole subject of ethics becomes very important. It's not unusual, especially during economic downturn, that you have clients who are facing a challenge, economic challenge, and you know that if you insist on the full provision, the client is in trouble. On the other hand, if you don't, then you're not being ethical. So you're forced into making all these very difficult decisions. And over the years, it honed your ability to maintain a higher and higher standard of ethics.
So Mr. do you have any advice for young aspiring accountants?
Certainly, I would say stick it out for the first few years. The first 2-3 years can be less exciting because you're learning the ropes, all the technicalities, and it's quite different from what you study in the universities. And really, even the toughest examination question is no match for what you encounter in real life. If you can stick it out for the first 3 years and learn the ropes, and then get assigned to exciting jobs, you'll find it progressively getting more and more interesting, and you'll begin to find greater excitement in your work itself. And who knows where it'll lead you to. It's a very versatile sort of skill. From an auditor, you end up doing a lot of IPOs, and some of them will move on to industries because the client obviously would make an offer to someone who already knows the entire system.
How about you sharing with us as a president that's newly elected in April this year?
Right.
Is there any changes that we will see you implementing?
I'm someone who believes in evolutionary changes rather than revolutionary. You only need to make revolutionary changes where it is urgent or you're pushing it, and for whatever reason people are reluctant to change. Otherwise, a progressive change is always much better. People have to learn to adapt. Don't forget, changes are happening in all fronts. It's not just ethical standards. You're talking about auditing standards, you're talking about financial reporting standards, integrated reporting. There's just a lot for people to learn and get used to. So I think evolutionary change, gradual process will be more effective. So I'm not about to go out there and change the whole world overnight, but really working with the different stakeholders through public education, through the courses, help people to adjust to the changes as and when it's rolled out and it's happening.
What would you have done if you have not chosen a career as an accountant?
never can tell. But certainly what I can say is no regrets. I've enjoyed what I've done. The opportunities were there. Because I think auditing is a very generic term. And over the years, I've created a niche myself to specialize in certain type of audits and develop certain techniques for those type of audits, what we call the sensitive audits, when the manuals were lacking in terms of guidance. So that's what that makes life exciting about it, is to go into areas that are relatively new in the world and develop your expertise and become known for it. So no regrets, and I think very difficult to think of anything else that can offer you such a wide exposure. I can't think of any other work that within a spell of 10, 20 years that will have exposed you to at least half a dozen, if not 1 dozen different type of industries.
Thank you, Mr. Yi. We have certainly gathered great insights from a small conversation with Mr. Yi. Thank you.